boy bands. They're like regular bands, but with boys. You might be asking yourself, how's this different than any other band? I actually don't know, but what I do know is that there was no boy band that was quite as big as One Direction.
Decided to put you through to the judges. I've gone with my heart. You're through.
In this video, I will be attending concerts from former One Direction members, private events of former One Direction members. I'm gonna be judging if each member of One Direction had a glow up or a glow down after life in the band. And I will be seeing for myself whether this fandom is still alive. Does the One Direction fandom still live all these years later, or are they just another boy band? Now, I can't really say that I was a huge fan of One Direction when they were at their peak, but in my adult life, something changed. And that something is having a One Direction girlfriend. Now, having a One Direction girlfriend is a very interesting experience. I know way more information about One Direction than I ever thought that I would know. I know all of the info, all of the lore, I know all of it. And boy, is some of this lore messy. Now, something that made One Direction very different from all other boy bands that we'd seen prior was social media. I mean, this was the golden era of social media. You had Instagram, which was starting to blow up, you had Twitter, which was starting to blow up, you had Facebook, which had just started to reach its height. And this helped One Direction grow a lot. As One Direction got further and further in this competition, their support began to grow and grow and grow. I mean, One Direction were so goddamn massive that fan fiction started to be made about them. And if you don't know what a fan fiction is, it's pretty much a fictional story that a fan writes about a celebrity or a group of celebrities. And boy, did the One Direction fan fictions get extremely weird. I mean, so many of them had the most wild plots. Every fan fiction would start off with like the most depressing start ever. Like, oh, I was abused as a child and my whole family hates me and they lock me in a closet without food and I starve to death. But then One Direction comes around and they save me, guys. They save me and oh my god, they're so sweet, they're amazing, they're so dreamy. But now that we've been introduced to the band, let's see if each of the individual members have glown up or if they've glown down. Starting with One Direction member number 1, Louis Tomlinson. Louis had a cult-like following when he was in the band. And I think that really showed when One Direction released the song No Control. How I was described is that everyone had been waiting for Louis to be able to get his moment. And No Control seemed to be the song where Louis got his moment. No control, no control. And I think that's why when the band ended and Louis released his first album, Walls, it got that same feeling that they got with No Control, but this time with a full album. And Walls is a phenomenal album that's incredibly well written, and it really gives us a glimpse into Louis' personal life. And that's what brings us to Louis' second album, Faith in the Future. Faith in the Future is a fantastic album, and you get that same level of songwriting that we got from Walls, but this time, it feels like Louis knows who he is. He has an identity, he has a brand now. He has his own sound. Now, Faith in the Future was such a good album that I decided I'm gonna go to this concert. I want to experience some level of One Direction fandom. So I headed to Louis Tomlinson's concert and I got a fantastic seat. And I think the thing that really surprised me about Louis' show was how non-cringy it was. When I think of a former boy band concert, I tend to think of choreographed dances and really cringy monologues and extra performative bullshit that really doesn't need to be there. The vibe of the show was absolutely fantastic. What I loved about the show is people didn't just show up to see a former One Direction member. They showed up because they love Louis' music. Everyone seemed to be friends with each other, and that One Direction spirit very much was still in the air. It was a fantastic concert, and if I have to say whether I think Louis Tomlinson had a glow up or a glow down, I mean, I think it's very clear to see that in every possible way, Louis has glown up. I mean, look at him in this picture. He just seems happy. He's a dad. From seeing him here to the Viva La Vida performance, Louis changed a lot. But someone who hasn't changed at all from the Viva La Vida performance is Mr. Niall Horan. He's the least problematic, he's the sweetest out of all of them, and he just seems like the nicest guy ever. I mean, it's Niall Horan, man. It's just the most peaceful fandom of all time. I mean, you guys live in like this utopia. First song that I remember of Niall's that blew up was Slow Hands, I believe, or This Town, one of those two. Niall's first two albums, Flicker and Heartbreak Weather, were a immediate switch from the music that he was making in One Direction. It was a bit more acoustic, a bit more airy, it felt a bit more light on its feet, but I wouldn't say that Niall in these two albums really nailed his sound. I'd say when Niall really started to master his craft was this last album, The Show. The Show as an album is a very well built album, it has hit after hit after hit on it, and Niall was finally starting to build eras and become comfortable being his own artist. And Niall announced two shows in Toronto. Both sold out like that. But luckily for me, I got a message from Niall's label and they asked if I wanted to go to the concert. I was like, fuck yes, I want to go to this concert. So they hooked me and a friend up with tickets to go see The Show live in concert.
Well, I've arrived at the Niall Horan concert. My wish list for the show, see a One Direction song. Bonus if it's Night Changes. I love Night Changes. I want to see The Show. And, of course, if there's a special guest. Those are my three wishes. Niall, don't let me down. Don't let me down, Niall.
When the lights went black and Niall took the stage, I mean, the crowd went crazy. The beautiful thing about this concert was how amazing these One Direction fans were. You know, I'm in an arena filled with people. You'd think that there were bad vibes, you know, somewhere. But I couldn't find them, truly. I mean, One Direction fans really make for such an amazing crowd. It really elevated the experience just with how passionate they were about Niall performing some of their favorite songs. So yeah, the Niall Horan concert was absolutely fantastic. Physically, Niall Horan has had the glow up of the century, okay? Niall Horan went from, "Daddy, may I have a cookie?" to fucking just daddy. So I think it's safe to say that Niall Horan has had a giant glow up since life in the band. But then there's Zayn Malik. Now Zayn Malik, when he was in the band, was the mysterious one, the quiet one, you know, the one that people couldn't really figure out too well. But I think what Zayn is most famous for is being the one that left. You see, while One Direction were at their peak, Zayn wanted out. I mean, he wanted out of the band, and I think that at the time, it took a lot of people by surprise, and, you know, people were devastated. Zayn got swarmed with hate. But I think when you look back and you look at his decision, it makes so much sense. Each one of the boys in One Direction auditioned solo. None of them auditioned with the intention of being in a band. So I could see for Zayn being in a band making music that he doesn't want to make. I mean, he was living someone else's life. I mean, you know it's bad when even Harry Styles, the unproblematic king, disses you on SNL.
They're my brothers. Niall, Liam, Louis, and Ringo.
Now, I don't think Harry had any genuine harm when he made the SNL monologue. I think he was just having fun. But despite all of that noise from the outside, Zayn managed to have a lot of success in his solo career. I mean, he had a absolute smash hit with Pillow Talk.
So we'll piss off the neighbors.
He had a collab with Taylor Swift for the 50 Shades soundtrack.
Just wanna keep calling your name.
Just recently, he released an album called Room Under the Stairs, where Zayn has a lot more of an acoustic sound. Now, I had the amazing opportunity of listening to Zayn's newest album, Room Under the Stairs, before it came out at a private listening party in the city. Now, unfortunately, because the album wasn't out yet, I wasn't able to bring in my phone, and they made me lock it up.
So my mom and I are at the Universal event for Zayn Malik's new album release party. We can't take phones in, no recording, so we'll see you guys after we listen to the album and let you know how it is.
And when I came out of the listening party, I was so impressed with the album, I immediately went home, pre-saved it, and I've been listening to it ever since. But even better than the album being good, okay, is Zayn gave me a little cactus that said, "From my garden to yours, Zayn." So that's pretty cool. I have a little Zayn Malik cactus over here, but I got this cool little Zayn card that I keep on my desk now. You know, just hang out with me. Now, as far as whether Zayn has grown up or grown down, you know, things haven't been perfect for Zayn, but he's a dad. He seems so at ease and at peace. And even when he's talking about his days in the band, we're starting to notice a shift in him looking back with happiness and nostalgia rather than trauma.
You know what? I actually just spoke to Niall a couple of days ago. We just really support each other, and I even spoke to him the other day. I was saying to him, I'm really proud of, like how well his music's doing. Yeah, we support each other. There's no real competition.
So I think for Zayn, despite at times him having a glow down, I think overall, Zayn's had a massive glow up. And I've really enjoyed seeing Zayn thrive time and time again, especially in the last few years. But someone whose life after One Direction hasn't been as positive as the others is Liam Payne.
Hi, I'm Liam Payne.
I currently have $2,000 saved up for Liam's tour.
How expensive are these concert tickets?
Now, Liam Payne is the leader of One Direction. According to Liam, when the band was formed, they formed the band around Liam.
I don't think so. I think that he would definitely shine. He could actually maybe be the leader.
It seems from performances and every bit of evidence I could find that they were trying to market Liam as the leader of One Direction. And I think that's a decision that has caused Liam to have a really hard post-One Direction life. I mean, look at what he looked like back in the day. This is the textbook definition of a boy band member. And I think that's exactly what they tried to market him as, is the perfect boy band member. And I think that's something that's really affected Liam in his post-One Direction life. Because when you look at each of the members in One Direction, they have this very clear personality and quirk to them that make them very unique. And I think this is something that even the people who made One Direction seem to really struggle with, because as time went on in the band, they started to transform Liam from Liam to Harry, and it just didn't work. And when it comes to Liam, there's been this consistent theme of a loss of identity. Even still to this day, I don't think a lot of people know who Liam is. The closest thing that I've gotten to seeing and understanding Liam is a podcast that he did with Logan Paul, which went crazy viral for all the wrong reasons.
So I said to him, if you don't remove those hands, there's a high likelihood you'll never use them again. I think it was well known within the band that I don't like taking shit. I made it very obvious. I'm not going to tell you how.
In the podcast, Liam just does not look like he is okay.
Irrelevant.
Then she tweeted something about get yourself like a respectful man or something.
Yeah.
That one didn't age very well.
It didn't age.
He's drinking throughout the entire podcast. He's talking poorly about his old bandmates.
Listen, before we go too deeply into this, there's many reasons why I dislike Zayn, and there's many reasons why I'll always be on his side.
And overall, it seems like Liam in this podcast is looking for validation from Logan Paul, of all people. And right away when this podcast dropped, everyone jumped on the Liam Payne hate bandwagon, but I think what a lot of people didn't understand is where that comes from. When you have adults telling you that you need to change the way you look and change the way you talk so that people will like you, I mean, that's gonna give someone major people-pleasing tendencies when they get older in life. And that's what you see when you look back and watch that really sad podcast. And music-wise, Liam has had a very interesting music career after the band.
When I think of a former boy band concert, I tend to think of choreographed dances and really cringy monologues and...
How we feeling?
Liam had a very famous song called Strip That Down, which went huge. I mean, it was a huge smash hit. I think it has over 1 billion streams on Spotify.
I love Strip That Down.
Our favorite song is Strip That Down.
Oh, so good. So good.
It's just not good. Like, the actual quality of the music is just not great. It's grocery store music. Pop music that will be lost in the abyss of generic pop music as the years come. It felt very fake. And that seems to be the running theme with Liam's music post One Direction.
It's been, I say on my solo career, the one thing I've struggled with is writing for myself.
It feels quite empty and quite soulless.
Welcome to a poetry reading of Strip That Down For Me by Liam Payne, featuring Quavo. Quavo! Can't forget about Quavo. You know I used to be in 1D. Now I'm free. I just want to have fun and get rowdy. One Coke and Bacardi, sipping lightly.
I love Strip That Down. Our favorite song is Strip That Down. Oh, so good. So good.
When I walk inside the party, girls are on me. F1 type Ferrari, 6-gear speed. Girl, I love it when your body grinds on me, baby. This has been a poetry reading of Strip That Down For Me by Liam Payne, featuring Quavo.
Now, it hasn't been all bad for Liam. He has had a kid, and, you know, he's had his successes. I don't want to make it out to be where he's this, you know, really sad ex-boy band member. That's not the case. He's still doing well. I think he's just still trying to figure himself out, which is fair. So as far as whether Liam's had a glow up or a glow down, I think we gotta say that despite him having the jawline of a fucking Greek god, okay, what is this jawline? He is like king of mewing. I think it's pretty obvious that, you know, Liam's had a glow down.
Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
Which is something that you definitely can't say about this next member, because this next member is Harry Styles. Now, if you don't know Harry Styles, I mean, who are you? What rock have you been living under? Harry's life after One Direction has been crazy. I mean, craziest of any of the members that we've talked about previously. I mean, Harry got drafted to the war. Harry had some traumatic experiences while he was in the war. He left, started working a 9-to-5 until he spit on this guy. Harry came out with his debut album, and I mean right away through each of the singles that he put out. I still remember the first time that I heard Sign of the Times, and I was just blown away by how timeless it sounded. Even my parents, I mean my mom used to play that song constantly, my dad loves it, my brother loves it. Everyone who hears Sign of the Times absolutely adores it. And that whole first Harry Styles album received a ton of commercial success, which led into his second album, Fine Line. And Fine Line for me is my favorite Harry Styles album. I absolutely adore this album, but it goes even further into this love and passion for music. It was a completely different sounding record to his first album. I mean, when you look at Harry's discography, there's no real such thing as a deep cut because each song has such a personality within the fandom. And I think Harry's done such a good job at building a culture within his fandom. I mean, going to a Harry Styles concert is unlike going to any other type of concert. And I know this because I went to a Harry Styles concert. Everyone was smiling, everyone was happy. He even put One Direction on the pre-show playlist and people went absolutely nuts. But the concert itself was fantastic. he brought energy, he brought a vibe that was just unmatched to any of the other One Direction concerts that I'd been to, and to be honest, he carried an energy that I'd never seen from any concert that I'd been to. I think for Harry Styles, this is the easiest case of, yeah, he's blown the hell up. He's living La Vida Loca. He is truly living La Vida Loca, and I love Harry for that. So yeah, Harry's blown up.